something, like, because that's very fleeting once you get there. Like once you make a certain amount of money, okay, you've made it. Now what are you going to do? Now it's about sustaining it. And the initial rush of, say, making $1 million goes away really quick. It's not that much money anyway. I mean, it's not like it lasts very long. So I think that a person has to, if you have the desire and you cultivate that desire and you really take care of it, the next thing is
Hello and welcome again, viewers, to the Entrepreneur Summit. We've moved from overwhelm to standout success with your new business. And I'm so honored to be bringing you a fabulous speaker today, David Neagle. Welcome, David.
Hi, how are you? Glad to be here.
Oh, good. I'm so happy and honored that you are here. Viewers, let me tell you a little bit about David. He's been a very busy man indeed, and has achieved huge amount of success. So certainly a formidable leader and to inspire us all. So he's the founder of a multi-million-dollar global coaching company called Life Is Now. He's a podcast host. He's an author with a best-selling author, a speaker. He's the architect of the coaching and personal growth industry and has been doing that for probably a bit more than 20 years now and across 30 countries. So like I said, he's very busy. He's worked with Bob Proctor, Miriam Moresi, I've got to get my teeth in right today, Tony Robbins, past executive corporate managers, stock investors, business owners, and is across many different media platforms like TV, radio, magazines like Forbes, CBS, NBC, the Wall Street Journal, Inc., HLN, Entrepreneur, and Fox. Seriously, David, wow.
Very busy.
Very busy, very busy. So you've certainly like a good challenge. I love a good challenge and like to create success. So please, can you give us a bit of context and tell us about your story?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. My story, I think it really did, not like a cliche or anything, but it really did kind of start in my childhood. Because there was a lot going on in my childhood that wasn't right. It really kind of caused me to start going down and making different decisions in my life that eventually, at one point, kind of caused me to be a little bit trapped. So my parents split up when I was like 13, and there was probably a 3 or 4 year period of time where I was very much on my own at that point in my life. I ended up quitting high school at 17, decided that I was just going to work. I had no education at this point, so I'm not exactly sure what I was thinking at the time. But anyway, that was my thought. And school just did not agree with me at all. So I ended up getting married young and having 2 children, and I could not get a job. I was working, driving a forklift. I was working on a dock. I was basically working 2 jobs, and I was pretty much stuck at about $20,000 a year. And I was working about 6.5 days a week, and I just could not get our income up. It was causing major problems because our bills kept going up, but the income couldn't support it. So we ended up going bankrupt. We had a car that was repossessed. We had to leave an apartment because we couldn't pay the rent in the middle of the night with 2 kids and move to basically not a very good neighborhood. And I was really struggling personally. I did not know how to change the situation that I was in. Part of me was still making bad decisions. Part of me was desperate to get out of the situation that I was actually experiencing. And I had an accident that almost took my life. I had a water skiing accident where I ended up getting separated from the boat and I was sucked through a dam. And At that time, I was one of 2 people that survived going through that dam, and there were people that would get killed by it every year. There was no way for a boat that would lose its motor for whatever reason, mechanical error, to get out of the dam once it got pulled down the river. If it got pulled into the area where the dam was, that was it. It was going to go through, and it didn't matter how big of a vessel it was either. It was a huge dam. And I got separated from the boat and I got sucked through this dam. And being one of 2 people that survived, everybody that after the accident happened, I had all these officials that were coming up to me and asking me, how did I survive going through this? Because they never had anybody survive going through it. Like, there was one person, but he was a paraplegic after he went through it. And I thought it was a really stupid question, to be honest with you, because I had no idea how I survived. I mean, I had a life vest on. Was very fortunate that I didn't, break my neck. I broke my back. I was severely lacerated on many areas of my body from whatever it is that I hit going through the dam or under the water. But it wasn't like I did something special that caused me to survive. And people were like, you're very lucky. You're very lucky. They kept telling me there must be some greater purpose to your life because you didn't die. And part of me was believing it, I think in part by the idea that I wanted to do something different with my life, but I didn't know how. So it felt like a really good message to hold on to at the time. And make a long story short, I healed. I went back to work, but I'm right back on the dock again. And I'm waiting for this something better to happen in my life, and nothing's happening. It's just progressively, slowly, one decision after the next getting worse. So one night, I was in a really bad way. I was depressed. I had been disciplined several times at the company that I worked for because I was not a good employee. And I had an emotional kind of meltdown in the back of this trailer while I was loading it. And I was just asking God to please show me something, show me some answer, give me some direction. I had no idea where to go. And this voice in my head said, change your attitude. So I began to play with that idea. And I boiled it down to 3 things that I decided that I was going to change about myself. And here's what's important about this part of the story. I had absolutely no reason at all to believe that it would do anything, that anything significant would change by me changing 3 things about how I was kind of showing up in life. I just didn't know that that would have any impact at all. So I started acting like I loved what I did. I started doing every job to the best of my ability, and I started treating people with respect, which is not something that I was doing prior to that. And this was not at the direction of anybody else. This is something that I just thought, I'm going to give this a try and see if this changes. What happened was that in 30 days, my income went from $20,000 a year to $62,000 a year. And this is back in right around 1991. I was so shocked that much of a change could happen, because tripling my income in a month changed our entire lifestyle. I mean, everything changed. We were able to buy a house. We were able to get out of the neighborhood. We were able to move into a decent neighborhood. We were able to pay our bills on time. It totally changed everything. And it gave me hope. It gave me inspiration that I was onto something, even though I had no idea what it was. I decided that I was going to start to try to find out. Like, I need to find out, what did I actually do that caused this change? And the thing was that it kept getting better. Like, life kept getting better. I was getting promoted. I was promoted from driving a truck into management. I started climbing the ladder at a petroleum company that I was now working for. And I was shocked that all these years of my life before this could be pretty much a dead end. One bad decision after the next. No sign of or direction even from anybody on how to do this. And I make these 3 little changes, and there's this significant change in my life. So I began to study. I began to go to seminars. I began to go to the library, bookstores, read books. I was reading and consuming information, everything that I could get my hands on. And over a period of 7 years, I really began to start to put the pieces together as to what I actually did, to the point where I could give somebody else direction in their life or their business, And if they seriously wanted to make a change or do something better, they could get the result. And I was like, this is pretty cool, because the people that are doing exactly what I show them how to do, they're making significant changes in their life and their business. And that was, and so then around 1999, I decided that I was going to start my own company doing just that. And like you said, it's a little over 20 years ago. And it quickly grew into a multi-million-dollar company with thousands of clients, all over the world. So it's been a very gratifying career. And the part about it that I think that I love the most is that I very much get to help people with their business, with their viewpoint on the world, with their mindset, with anything that they want to accomplish. But another thing that is very gratifying to me is how many jobs and people we affect just by growing a large company, to the point where people feel like it's a very positive thing in their life to work with us, and that they're able to take care of their families and also do very positive things in the world. So I think that kind of brings us up to date.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very, very interesting story. And yeah, a lot of people can get to where they are from various different, causes. And it's lovely to hear how you took a bit of a tragedy or some negatives and turned them into positives. There's quite a few of us that have gone through negatives, and it's like, how do you turn it around? And sometimes it's like, okay, change your attitude, but I am changing my attitude. It's like, that's still not quite achieving. And it's the same as in business. There's a lot of things that can be thrown, spanners that can be thrown in the works, like COVID.
Yeah.
And certainly with startups, it can be challenging, or where we're having to go back to the drawing board and look at our business in different ways. And Overwhelm certainly has, comes into it in various forms, and, the entrepreneur's journey, but even the small business owners, and with bricks and mortar, or whether you're online, or now that both, if you're morphing into the both. I certainly do remember the millennium and how that affected people and over that first decade. And so, what would be some of your tips then for people to help them with the ups and the downs, the ebbs that we go through in business?
I think the most important thing that a person has to really watch out for and cultivate is the desire for what it is that they want. Because if they lose that desire, it's pretty much over. Everything will be overwhelming. Every obstacle will be too difficult. They will be looking for everything that could possibly go wrong. And I've had people over the years ask me, like, what was it specifically that I learned that allowed me to overcome the obstacles that I overcame? And it wasn't something specifically that I learned. It was the desire that I had to turn my life around, the desire that I actually had to win. That never went away, whether it was good times or bad times, whether it was major challenges or trying to master something or figure it out, or just the sheer not knowing how to build a business. The desire is what kept me going day and night and day. So I think the first thing that a person has to realize is that it is a journey. Like, it is totally a journey. Success is not a destination. It's not something that we get to. It's not something that once you achieve it, you don't ever have to do anything again. Because I think that subconsciously, these ideas run around in a person's mind just based on what we learn from society. Mm-hmm. And it takes a real love for what you do. It takes an acceptance and an understanding that you have to enjoy the process of whatever it is that you're building, whatever you're doing. If you don't enjoy the process, you're basically in a situation where you have to make yourself do things you don't like every single day. And it gets to the point where it's like, well, why am I doing that? What is the reason that I'm doing that? Why would I spend my life miserable doing something that I don't like, just to make some money at the end, or to build something? Like, because that's very fleeting once you get there. Like, once you make a certain amount of money, okay, you've made it. Now what are you going to do? Now it's about sustaining it. And the initial rush of, say, making $1 million goes away really quick. It's not that much money anyway. I mean, it's not like it lasts very long.
Mm.
So I think that a person has to, if you have the desire and you cultivate that desire and you really take care of it, the next thing is to have a mindset of growth where you're embracing growth all the time. You're embracing change all the time. And you understand that that is an absolute, it's not going to change. Otherwise, we have a tendency to want to try to keep things the same, especially if we get to a place where we're now comfortable financially, or we have some security in our business where we didn't have it before. It's kind of like a breath of fresh air when you're finally like, okay, I can pay the bills, I've got some money, we can do some good things for the family, or whatever your situation is. The real key is to understand that you have to continue with a growth mindset. And that will not only allow you to get over challenges on a day-to-day basis and week to week, month to month, year to year, but it'll have you embracing those. Like, you'll see them very different. I think that there is a charge of energy that goes through a person when they realize that this challenge, as I overcome this challenge, I become a better person. I help other people become better. We build something that's stronger. We can reach and touch more people depending on whatever your product or service is. So it's that mindset has to be cultivated, and then it has to be really taken care of. And I think what I see today are two different things. People that really, they have a desire to be wealthy, but they don't really have a desire to do the work, to overcome the challenges. So they're constantly looking for an easier way to actually do something. And the other thing that I see is that they don't want to maintain the mindset that is required in order to keep your business fresh and evolving on a regular basis. And I think that people pay a very heavy price for that, because just like the COVID virus, although this is a really big thing, entrepreneurs know that big things are going to happen all the time. They're going to have challenges. There's going to be things that challenge their business, their skill set, their employees, their team, their finances, the culture of society. It's going to happen over and over and over again. So how resilient are you in your approach to what you're doing? And do you enjoy being resilient? Do you enjoy those challenges? I think that the human spirit's designed to do that. But I think if our mind is rooted in safety, it becomes drudgery, and then it's not fun for anybody.
Oh gosh, there's so many wonderful nuggets of gold in that. With the maintenance then of the mindset, as you said, what would be some of your tips around that? How can people maintain that? Because, until they get to a point where they've got the proof in the pudding with the resilience, or that they've gone through several different types of things, what if they haven't? How do they maintain, and how do they build up resilience?
I think it's about what do you use, what do you surround yourself with in your environment to support that mindset. So if you view your mindset as it's the golden goose, so to speak, it is the thing to be preserved and kept clear and clean and energetic more than anything else, because it's what's either creating your success or it's creating your failure. Then you have to ask yourself, what supports that in my life? Do I have the right people to support that in my life? Because if I don't, then most likely I have people that don't support it, which it becomes very difficult to maintain that mindset if the things in your environment not only not support it, but they tear it down. They're bashing at it on a consistent basis. Excuse me. So I think we have to have the right people. We have to have people that can understand our values and understand our mindset. And they also have values and goals that they're striving for in their life. So we're very much in harmony with those kinds of people. They're not going to tolerate excuses. We're going to hold each other accountable. They're people that we can talk to and relate to. The other thing I think is, what are you studying? Because I think that anybody that's going to move forward in their life, they need to be a constant student, both of success itself and whatever it is that they're doing. You need to be a student of your business, a student of the various aspects of your business, a student of people that have had major success and finding out and listening to what they did, what they went through, how they overcame things. Where was their heart? Where was their mindset? The other thing is that I believe that once you do that, then it's about cultivating a goal and making a commitment to how you're going to show up every day. So this is something that I don't believe people can waver on at all. You have to decide who you're going to be every day, and then you have to have a plan to be that person every day. It starts with your calendar. So you understand what your goal is, you know what your objectives are, and then your time every day is very much scheduled accordingly. So it is both for your personal life, your private life, and for your business and your social life. That means from the moment you get up in the morning to when you go to bed at night, you know exactly what you're going to do. And before you do any of it, you sit down in the morning and you say, how do I want to show up in all of these things that I'm doing every day? So that it's fresh in your mind. Because I think that what happens for most people is they wake up in the morning. The day is what determines how they feel about what they're doing, how they feel about themselves, whatever. So if a person wakes up in the morning and the weather's bad, or they have a cold, or they stub their toe, or they get in a fight with their spouse, or they find out that there's trouble somewhere in their life, that very much can affect the attitude of that person for the rest of the day. And the rest of the day, they're not showing up as their best self in what they're doing. They become reactive to what they're doing, and it starts to snowball into more of a problem than it needs to be. But when a person is really committed to being the best that they can be, and whatever the goals or the vision that they have for their life, they have to be committed to the mindset and how they're showing up as a person every day to those things. So that means that you're really looking at you're checking in and asking yourself, what do I need for me today? So in the morning, like a great practice that I have is just sitting down quietly after I wake up, once I'm fully awake, and asking myself, what do I need today? Like, how do I feel today? What do I need? Do I need something to cultivate my energy? Do I need a different kind of food? Do I need exercise? What do I need for me to have me in the best shape to go out and be productive and contribute to today? And then I look at my schedule and I'm looking at all the different things that I have to do. And I ask myself, based on the individual outcomes that I want for every single thing, how am I showing up to that thing? Who am I showing up as during that thing? And then before I do everything, I'm also kind of like silently running that narrative in my mind. Because let's say that I was in a meeting before I did the interview with you, and the meeting was horrible. Like, it was full of bad news and problems and things I didn't want to experience. If I don't check my energy and be fully present with you, I'm going to drag that energy into this with you, which is going to affect the interaction that we have together, which is then going to affect other people. So it's also about making sure that you're 100% present for everything that you do, and you're not dragging anything that happened earlier in the day in what you do. We have a responsibility to bring the very best of ourselves every single time to what we're doing. That's our job. That is literally our job and our commitment. And I think it's that we strive to do that the very best that we can. If we do that, we'll have a life and a career that builds upon itself, and it will be extraordinary. If we don't do that, it will be full of problems, and then those problems usually end up turning personal for an individual.
Wow. a lot of oh gosh, that's so lovely. A lot of the times, as you were talking, I thought, oh, well, I'll ask you about how do you keep yourself accountable? And you then covered that. And then I was like, okay, well, then what else would you do? And then you covered that. So that was really, really lovely. I think that it's all very well and good for a lot of people to say these things and to then think these things and have heard these things. But it's really about putting it into action and being consistent with it. So what would be one tip that you could give, say, around, making sure that people are showing up with that correct energy?
I think that you have to want to. If you don't want to, you won't. And I think it's really that simple. Like, that's the real truth about it. In my experience with working with thousands of people all over the world for 20 years, the one thing that I know is 100% true, if a person wants to, it doesn't matter what's going on, they'll find a way. If they're not committed to it, they won't. Every single thing that can be an excuse will. And if you ask them individually, like, well, what do you do? What's your strategy? What's going on? They'll all can tell you different things about how they structure their day, books that they read, people that they listen to, other people that hold them accountable, meditation, prayer, whatever. But if you strip all of that away, because here's the thing, what about when you give all those tools to somebody and they still don't do it? What is actually going on? They don't really want to. They want the things that they say they want, they don't want as much as they think they want them. They're really after something else. And they want it to be easier, or they don't want to have to work as hard, or they don't want to be disciplined, or they don't want to be committed. So what I do with individuals is I say, listen, the best gift you can give yourself is to figure out the thing that you want in life more than anything else, which means you're willing to give up anything in order to get that. And what I mean by give up anything is you're willing to sacrifice things of a lower nature in your life in order to gain things of a higher nature that you truly want. I don't think anybody holds me more accountable than I hold myself. Like, I want to hold myself to the highest standard that I possibly can for me. Now, there are people in my life that have permission to call me on something if they see me slipping in some area. But my belief is that that's my responsibility. And if I'm not going to show up really conscious of that responsibility, then what am I doing to begin with? Like, otherwise it's just an act. It's not real. You're trying to shortcut your way to what it is that you want. So I think it's very important that we get clear on that first. And the reason, like, the very first time that I became aware of that was in the mid-90s. I was working on building a little business. And I was working really hard, and I had a lot of people that gave me great advice, told me specifically what to do, and I was doing it. And yet, even though while I was mildly successful, it was nowhere where I wanted to be. So this person that I had known that did the same thing as me and had very, very different results, I decided to go to him and ask him, what was I missing? What am I doing wrong? And I walked up to him and I told him about what I was doing. And his response was, you don't want it bad enough. And he turned around and walked away. And at first I was angry. I was really angry that that's what he said to me. But then as I was driving home from that meeting, I thought to myself, if that's true, where is there evidence of that in my life? Because at that point I thought I did. But as I really reflected on what he said to me, I realized he was 100% correct. The evidence was I was not pushing past my own barriers of discomfort in specific areas in my business, which caused me to settle for whatever I got at that level. And all I needed to do was to realize that that's what I was doing. I was settling for comfort, even though I didn't think that I was, because it wasn't things on the outside causing me not to rise further. It was me saying, okay, this is what I'll settle for.
Look, so true. And it's very easy to get into our little ruts and our little habits, and sometimes really not see the truth for what it is. And it's easy, I suppose, a lot of the times for an outsider to see looking in. So yeah, I've often recommended, look, try to step out of yourself and see it from a different perspective. And I think that, you know, with a lot of the information that you've given us so far, it's been wonderful that not only can it help with overwhelm, but it can also help with being a standout success. There's various different sorts of successes, but to really be a standout is really, you know, we hear about being authentic, but it's often when you're being really true to your desire, like you're saying, it helps you really to there's just that thing that, you know, makes people stand out compared to the average sort of businesses that are just ticking over, and it's about a process.
Yeah.
So what other sorts of advice could you give around being a standout?
Trust yourself. So here's a little known truth. When a person says they're going to do something and they don't do it, they build distrust with themselves. So it's like your subconscious mind learns that it cannot trust you to follow through on what you say you're going to do. Over a period of time, your ability to really commit and follow through lessens tremendously. Now, this also has an outward effect because it causes you not to trust others. It causes you not to trust situations. It causes you not to trust life. It causes you not to trust God or spirit or the universe or whatever it is that you believe in. So it has a ripple effect through a person's life in a very tragic way. And when I see someone who is struggling, where they're asking, like, how do I be a standout success? How do I move to the next level? How do I increase my income? I will ask them to be 100% honest with me about how much do they follow through on what they say they're going to do. And not just do it, but do it to the very best of their ability, and then do it better than that the next day. How much do they actually do that? And I'll say, before you answer, if you answer this honestly, you will solve your own problem. If you don't answer it honestly, you will cover up that problem and you may never find it again. So if a person answers it honestly, then what I will tell them is, look, you build self-trust like any other muscle in your body, but you have to admit that it's a problem to begin with. And then you have to take one or two things in your life that you will absolutely 100% commit to following through on. And you need to start there. And you need to say you're going to do them. You need to make it very clear on what it is. You have to have benchmarks and you have to hold yourself accountable. And if you do that, then in a few months, you'll start to believe that you can trust yourself again. And then you can add to it. So you can add more things, other areas of your life. And if you continue to do that, you will get to the place where you know 100% certain if you say something's going to happen, you'll make sure that it gets done, period. And when you get to that place in your own self-trust, there's nothing that you can't accomplish. But it's one of the hidden weaknesses that exists in many, many people. I can't hear you. Sonia, I can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Now I can.
Thank you. I was just trying to play around with the mute and the unmute because I've got this truck going by outside. It's like, not now. We're getting deep and profound. Look, yeah, profound. And really, you know, as you were talking about that, I was thinking about the various different people and their various different challenges that they've had over time. And in hindsight, because there's a lot to be said for hindsight, now looking back and really what was the essence of that wasn't working and why was it working. And I love that. It does. It comes down to trust. And I suppose because like attracts like, you know, with the energy, if you're giving out the negative as far as the distrust in yourself, well then, yeah, it's going to come back to you in your life. I'm hoping that you really can't hear that truck very much. It's annoying.
Can't hear that truck at all.
Oh, good. I feel like going out to the driver is like, hey, I'm interviewing here. And look, you know, all of these things, all of these, the different tips that you've given us and advice, it's all going to help a lot of people with their businesses as far as whether they're new or whether they're pivoting, whether they're having to go back to the drawing board, whether they're adding an extra arm because their current business hasn't been working now with COVID. Is there any sort of last minute sort of tip you want to give around that whole pivot thing?
Yeah, I think that you have to realize that especially with the COVID thing, if you look at society the way that it normally is, imagine that we've pushed pause on life as the way that we normally live in it. And what's interesting about it is that if you view it from that aspect, you start to realize that even though there's the many things that we typically choose from as far as to how to run our business in our life, that many of those things may have stopped or been put on pause, it didn't take away our ability to choose. So as long as we have our ability to choose, we can find ways through, around, over obstacles and challenges in our life, and we can continue to move forward. You know, we have something that's like the one main thing that we have that allows us to do that is the internet and the computer, right? If this had happened 40 years ago, it would have been a much more of a problem than it is today. Like, you would not have been able to continue to move any part of your business forward at all. But because of technology, we have the technology to be able to do that. So now it requires that we start to think. And in that thinking, we don't have to come up with all the answers ourselves either, but we can find other people that are making progress, and we can learn from them, and we can ask them for help, and we can ask them for advice. And we need to really make a decision that we're going to continue to move forward and not be stopped by COVID, right? It could slow us down. It could challenge us. It could make us have to do things different for a period of time until we can get back to some sense of normalcy. But you can make it through this if you think you can make it through this. If you just look at all the reasons to stop and all the barriers that have put up, then that becomes your reality, and you don't really move past it. But I know many, many people that at first they were struggling with, how are we going to do this? But now their businesses are thriving because they've worked with other people. They've thought about it themselves. They've gotten their teams together. They've really sat down and figured out, like, how can we continue to serve our clients, to serve our customers, even if it's something different we have to create. How can we continue to do that in order to move forward so that we're moving our lives forward, our business forward, really helping other people? And then, like, the last thing is be grateful. No matter what, really look in your life, because there's always things to be grateful for. And grateful keeps you looking at the positive, which then allows you to see opportunity to help others. And that's really where the magic happens. When we can be grateful and see the opportunity to help other people, we can go back into being of service. It's only when we go into self-pity ourselves that we turn the world inward and we don't see anything. And that's where it becomes dark, and we go in a bad direction when we do that. So it's gratitude and then looking for opportunities to help.
Love that. Love that. Oh, again, profound. And yes, you know, it ultimately, I suppose it's the necessity that's had to come about from it that's been the mother of invention. And that's what we really are good at as a species. Yeah. As human beings, we're very good at evolving, and I suppose it is having faith and trust in ourselves. So there you go. It all comes back. It boils down to it.
100%.
Yeah, love it, love it, love it. Oh, you know, and a lot of the fundamentals is what you've covered off on. You know, to be successful in business, you've got to have those fundamentals. And again, it's because we can look back in hindsight and the various things that we've done over time, but it helps you to be set up ready for the next lot. And certainly with what you've done with creating, being such successful with the various streams to your businesses. So tell me then, what's on the horizon for you in 2020?
Well, you know, the biggest thing that we're doing right now is we're helping a lot of people get over and through with the COVID thing. We're really focused on helping a lot of people. Of course, we've got the resources and the manpower to be able to do that. So, you know, we created something called How to Navigate Uncertainty During a Major Crisis, which can be accessed through my podcast, which is the Successful Mind podcast. It's all free for people to use it, and it's full of resources and mindset stuff and strategies to be able to navigate their way through however long this actually lasts, you know, for individuals. You know, on the other side, the other thing that we do is we have a magnificent coaching business that helps people build businesses And we have a media company that gives people media strategies and solutions for their company. And they can just go to davidneagle.com and see what that stuff is there. But it's always about helping people move forward, regardless of the situation. And that's what we're passionate about.
Which is so lovely, you know, and I love connecting with people that have that same mindset. That's, you know, it really helps. We need to be able to continue to focus on that and to move forward, because people do have more options and opportunities to move forward in their life. And unfortunately, you know, with the sensationalism of the media, you know, with the typical news and things like that, it will focus on the negatives, but that doesn't mean that that's where we need to be dragged into. So,
right.
Yeah, we can all help each other to move forward, and it's lovely that you're offering that to our viewers. And of course, I'll have that URL on this landing page. So to find your how to navigate uncertainty during a major crisis, which I think is so on point at the moment.
Thank you very much.
So before we do a quick sign off, is there any last minute things you might want to say to the viewers?
I think the best thing to leave people with is to really, really harness your desire and be honest with yourself about what you want in life, because it's really about being happy. You know, like I think the most important thing is that we're happy in life. We're doing the thing that we really want to do. We live in a world where that's possible to do that. And we bring the best benefit to others when we're happy doing what it is that we love to do. So, you know, before anything, ask yourself, do I love what I do every day? Do I love getting out of bed every morning? Do I love my life? And if you don't, know that you can change it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Even if you can feel very stuck at doing that, there is options and opportunities there. And it's about reaching out and being guided by the right people like yourself, which is really lovely.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for giving us your time today. I'm absolutely honored, and I truly appreciate it, and saying thank you on behalf of all the viewers. So enjoy the rest of your evening where you are.
Thank you. You also.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.